He was walking
Okay, do you remember where?
up 6th Street.
Okay.
I think that's 6th Street.
Did you see him Thursday night, that next day?
Yeah.
What was he doing?
He was at the club when I seen him.
Okay, and that's the People's Choice Club?
Yes.
Okay, who was he with?
He was by himself when I seen him.
Okay. Did you talk to him on Friday evening?
No, he called me.
Right, okay. What did he call you on?
A house phone.
Was it late?
Sort of late.
Okay, so after maybe 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right. What did he tell you when he called you?
I don't know. Let me see.
Take your time.
He told me it was Frankie.
Objecting any hearsay.
This is the victim.
Allow it at this time.
What did Tim say to you?
He was with Frankie.
Okay, and you say Frankie. Do you know Frankie, or did you know Frankie?
Yes, I know Frankie.
How did you know him?
I went to school with him.
Okay.
And I used to work with him too also.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked in State's Exhibit 8 and previously shown to defense counsel. Do you recognize this?
That's him.
That's who?
Frankie.
Okay. And obviously it's an older picture.
Right.
Okay. Is it a fair and accurate picture of Frankie?
Yes, to me
Okay.
it is, yes.
All right. Your Honor, I'll tender State's Exhibit 8.
Yes.
On the screen right there, Mr. Freeman, is that Frankie?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see Tim again on Friday night after you spoke to him on the phone?
No.
Okay, you didn't see, was it in the early morning hours of?
It was a late evening.
Okay.
Mm.
Where did you see him?
I didn't see him Friday.
Okay.
He called me on the phone.
Okay. When did you see him next?
On a picture, he was dead.
Okay. And when he called you and told you that he was with
Frankie.
that was on that Friday night.
Right.
All right. Did you ever tell investigators that?
I can't remember. I don't know.
Okay. You don't remember if you told them that or not?
No.
Do you remember talking to investigators?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't remember if you told them that Tim called you and said he was with Frankie?
No.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you had concerns about that. What were you worried about with Tim being with Frankie?
Because back in the 80s, it was like a prejudice thing.
A prejudice thing?
Yeah.
Like with Frankie?
With the white people and the black.
So you were worried about Tim being with Frankie because of racial issues?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else at this time. Thank you.
Okay.
You may cross.
Mr. Freeman, my name is Mark Lee. I represent Frankie, who's been obviously accused in this case, and I think you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, and I appreciate you being here.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw Mr. Coggins, Tim Coggins, on that Thursday, the 6th?
On a Thursday, yeah.
Okay, and you didn't see him on that Friday?
No.
Okay, so you never saw Tim Coggins on that Friday of October the 7th, and so you don't have any information about who he was with other than a phone call, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so there was a phone call, he told you who he was with?
Yeah.
What time was that phone call, do you recall?
It was late. Can't remember that.
Okay, it was late that he called you? Did he
Yes,
call you
kinda
just
late.
to tell you that?
No, he was calling me to see where I was at.
Okay. Why?
Because we were close. We were friends.
Okay, so he just wanted to see where you were
Yeah,
at?
yeah.
So it wasn't like he was in distress or being hurt or anything like that, he just called to see?
Yeah, where I was at, yeah.
Okay. And how old are you, Mr. Freeman? Normally I avoid asking folks, how old are you?
I'm 58. I'll be 59 August.
Okay. And did you give a statement, do you recall giving a statement to police back in, or law enforcement back in 1983?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember telling them that Tim was involved in drugs?
Do I remember telling them that Tim was involved in drugs?
Yeah, that sold Quaaludes?
No.
Anything like that? Okay. So somebody would have been mistaken if they had said you said that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And do you recall telling law enforcement that Mr. Coggins bragged to you about sleeping with the manager at Doc Holliday's? Okay. So if that was in a report, somebody had been mistaken if you said that?
Yeah, they had to be.
And so, other than what you recall from a phone call on a Friday in 1983, you never saw Mr. Gebhardt or any of the people involved in this case that particular night, is that correct?
No, I didn't see them.
Okay, thank you, that's all the questions I have.
He be excused.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you're free to go. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Call your next witness, please.
We call Robert Smith.
Sir, if you'll approach me, please. Sir, if you would please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the trial of this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You'll have a seat, please.
Thanks.
And if you would please state your name for the record.
Robert Eugene Smith.
Mr. Smith,
Yes, sir.
you're currently incarcerated in Georgia State Penal System, is that correct?
That's correct.
For what offense, sir?
For possession.
Possession of methamphetamine?
Yes, sir.
Let me take you back to 1983. Do you recall that time period?
Yes, sir, I do.
What were you doing around that time? How were you employed?
I was working with my dad doing aluminum vinyl siding and gutter work. We were down from Atlanta, Georgia at that time.
At some point, did you have an occasion to meet Franklin Gebhardt and Bill Moore?
Yes, sir, I did.
How did you come to meet those two individuals?
Well, my dad had hired them to, they bought some property down off of Wildwood Circle in East Griffin, off of Jackson Road, and they had hired them to come and remove some trees for them off some land down there. And that's how I was introduced to them.
At some point, did you begin to hang out with Frankie Gebhardt and Bill Moore?
Yes, and when I met them on the property down there, Bill Moore had a brother named Rodney. Me and him became sort of close friends, I reckon you'd say. And I was invited to come up to Sunnyside, Georgia, to a party that they were having. And I went up there not once, but several times, different parties they was having.
What kind of parties would they have?
Well, it was pretty wild parties.
What do you
Like I said, I was from Atlanta, Georgia, and I sort of wasn't used to this kind of party, and they was going on this little trailer park that I went to off of 1941. But these guys up there, man, it was crazy. They was doing like cooking up mushrooms and drinking mushroom tea and taking pills and different liquors and whatever. And me as a young man, you know, I drink, but I drink beer, and that was about it. But I seen some pretty wild things up there at that trailer park.
These are parties that Franklin Gebhardt and Bill Moore were at,
Yes, sir.
or hosting?
We're hosting, pretty much.
Do you ever remember Timothy Coggins being in the trailer park and or at these parties?
Yes, sir, I do. Several different times I ran into Mr. Coggins there. And he just came over and would just hang out with people and stuff. And there was like fights there all the time in their trailer park, you know. And it was usually up there with Gebhardt and Moore. And they like ran this trailer park. You know, there's maybe 8 or 10 trailers in this trailer park. And they was like the bullies of this trailer park, more or less. And every time you would go up there, it seemed like, you know, people were fighting and carrying on and just At one incident, I walked in the trailer one night, they had across the back road from this trailer park was a cow field out there. They had a baby calf up in the trailer, butchering it in the floor, man.
Mr. Gebhardt had a cow in the trailer
Yes.
butcher.
They were butchering it in the floor, into the trailer. And I was like, man, this is crazy.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Mr. Smith, I'm going to show you what's been tendered as State's Exhibit number 6. Are you familiar with that picture?
Yes, sir, I am.
You know the person in that picture?
Yes, so this is the guy, Mr. Coggins, that I've seen around this.
And if
So that's the
if you could speak up a little bit so the last juror here can hear.
Yes, I do know him.
Is that the person you know as Timothy Coggins?
Yes,
Is that the person that you saw in the trailer park on multiple occasions?
yes, sir, it is.
Is that the person that you saw partying at parties with Mr. Gebhardt and Mr. Moore?
Yes, sir, it is.
Your Honor, may I publish it?
Yes.
Mr. Smith, do you recall a party at the trailer park where Tim ran to your trailer, or the trailer you were at?
Yes, sir, I do. I was down at, it was like 3 trailers on the back side of the road of it. I was down in the middle trailer in between the two, and up on the hill is where Gebhardt lived, and they was having the party up there. And us guys down here, you know, we was drinking and stuff, just hanging out. And I remember Mr. Coggins come running down through there, and he ran up in the trailer. Somebody told him to hide in the trailer. And the guy that lived there, I believe his name was like Dennis or something like that, but he lived there, and he told him, said, run in the trailer, hide in the trailer.
Mr. Smith, you can't testify as to what other people said, okay?
Yes. But Mr. Coggins had come running. I was sitting on the stairs of the trailer. He come running up past me into the trailer, and that was the last time I seen Mr. Coggins on that day. But I seen Bill and I seen Frankie. They was running down there, and they was hollering, "Where'd that little nigger go?" They was looking for the little nigger, and that's what they was hollering.
And that's the last time that you saw Timothy Coggins?
Yes, sir. That was the last time I laid eyes on Mr. Coggins.
Did you continue to hang out with Mr. Gebhardt and Mr. Moore over the years?
Well, not hang out with them, but it was one other incident, and it was just like in 2016, not long ago. It was me and this girl. We were together at one time, another before, and separated for a few years. But then I ran back into her again, and I was over on Drury Avenue in Griffin. And the day that she had called me, and I came over to be with her. And just when I pulled up, I seen this red Ford truck leaving, and the guy driving it looked familiar to me. And I asked her who it was, and she told me it was Frankie.
You can't testify as to what other people told you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
At some point, were you and Mr. Gebhardt together again?
Yes, yes.
And did Mr. Gebhardt say anything about the murder that occurred in 1983?
Yes, sir, he did. I was at a residence over on Patterson Road, which I believe was Mr. Gebhardt's at the time. And we was all sitting around drinking and cooking out or whatever. And he was like, asked me if I remembered back the time when we hung out at the trailer park in Sunnyside. Because he said that he was waiting on this girl to show up that night, who was a friend of the girl I was with. And I had just told him, I said, well, I seen her over on Drury Avenue. She was over there with these people over there, them dope heads and everything. And he said, over there with all them black people? And I said, yeah. And he said, I figured she was one of them nigger lovers, you know. And then he stated to me, he said, well, you remember back in the day, he said that one, he didn't ever live to tell about that white girl he was with. So.
Was that in 2016?
That was in 2016, sir.
prior to 2016, were there other occasions where Mr. Gebhardt had confessed to you that he had committed this crime?
Yes, sir, it was another time before that, but I can't pinpoint the day, the year. I know it was just, because I was back and forth down in this town from Atlanta.
What do you remember about that time?
It was, seemed like it was just a bunch of us hanging out, ran into each other, and like before, just drinking or whatever, and then it was brought up.
Do you remember what Mr. Gebhardt said on that occasion?
Well, he just mentioned about, hey, we don't put up with that kind of stuff, the black and the whites being together and all this kind of stuff. He said, you know how we deal with that, from back in the day. He was reflecting back to them,
What did you take that to mean?
That I always took it from when I heard that what had happened up there with the guy coming up missing and everything.
Your Honor, I would object to that kind of speculation.
Sustained. Just wait for the next question.
Yes.
Mr. Smith, did Mr. Gebhardt ever tell you why he killed Timothy Coggins?
Well, not directly, but the way I took it, and
Your Honor, I'm going to object to speculation.
You can't speculate.
You can testify as what he said,
exactly what he said. For messing with the white girl.
Did he ever indicate to you how Mr. Coggins was killed?
No, sir.
Did he ever talk to you about tying him up behind a
Your Honor,
bunker?
that's leading.
sustained.
Did he ever give you any details about how the murder occurred?
Well, sir, he said that they had drug him and gutted him. That's exact words he said.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
have you been promised anything from the state to have your testimony here today?
No, sir.
That's all my questions at this point.
Okay, you may cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Smith, you just drank, you say, back in 1983.
Yes, sir.
When did you start doing meth?
I was 44 years old before I ever touched methamphetamine.
Okay. So you didn't touch any other drugs
No, sir.
before you was 44? You were just a drinker back then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many of these parties did you go to at this trailer park?
I would say it's maybe 5 different times I've been up through there.
Okay, so about 5 parties you went to there. Frankie and Bill went at every one of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you saw Mr. Coggins there all 5 times?
And I wouldn't say all 5 times. At least 3 out of them times.
At least 3 out of
At least
5
3 out of
times.
5 times, yes, sir.
So that's where he hung out as well. Is that the way you took that
Yes, sir.
from what you saw?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall being interviewed by the GBI agent back in May of 2017?
Yes, sir.
And did you share all these details that you just gave with him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you were working in the vinyl siding business and were working in Griffin, and that's how you met Frank
Yes,
and Bill. They invited you up to Sunnyside.
yes, sir.
Okay. And did you remember telling Agent Coleman when he interviewed you in May of 2017 that Timothy Coggins was at 1, 2, 3, or any of those parties?
Yes, sir.
You do. You swear that you told him that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we replay the audio of your interview, it'll be on there. Is that correct?
That's argumentative.
Sustained.
You swear that you said that, right?
Asked and answered.
Yes, sir.
And so you were at another party later on, and that's when Timothy Coggins ran past you into a trailer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you were interviewed in May of 2017, you told Agent Coleman that Is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
No, sir, not at that interview, I did not.
Okay. At which interview did you tell that story?
The last interview I had,
Okay. When was the last interview you had?
a month ago, maybe.
Okay. So you had an interview in 2017. You had another interview a month ago, and you had another detail for the story, right?
Well, yes, sir, I guess, yes.
Okay. And so your memory's not like mine. Yours is getting better. Is that correct?
I would say,
I'm going to object, that's argument.
Sustained.
You remember things a month ago that you didn't remember in May. Is that correct?
well, yes, at that time, yes, sir.
Okay. And this story about butchering a cow, is that something that you told Agent Coleman back in May of 2017 when he interviewed you?
No, sir, I just told him about the being crazy parties,
Okay.
and that's pretty much it.
So, I mean, were you holding back stories, or you just thought of some new ones?
No, sir.
Okay.
I was, at the times, when I heard that the case was opened up and everything, I came forth on my own will. I seen the opportunity for me to speak up on this behalf of Mr. Coggins and what I had been heard and in what I know myself over the years.
You did see an
And this is
opportunity.
30-something years ago, sir, and things will start coming back to you, get reflecting on it, you know?
Yes, sir, I'm familiar. So, you decided it was a good time and it was the appropriate time for you to come forward with this valuable information that you knew, right?
Yes,
And you did that when you were incarcerated at the Spalding County Jail.
yes.
Okay. And let me ask you, in the 33, 34 years that you were sitting on all this information, why didn't you come forward with it at any point during that time?
Well, for your information, sir, I've been in and out of prison for the last 20-something years of my own. In, out, and hearing things, and then I thought myself, you know, it's all died down. Nothing's ever became of that.
Right.
When he
But-
came back alive, you know, I was like, hey, I felt like I was toting something, a burden on me for what I knew.
Right.
So I came forth with my own will to tell what I knew.
And the first time you relieved yourself of that burden was as an inmate at the Spalding County Jail.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't think maybe at the time, back in 1983, would be a good time to relieve yourself of that burden?
Sir, I never was questioning anything of any of that back at the time.
And you
And I
didn't-
was not a resident of Spalding County at the time.
And you weren't questioned initially here. You volunteered the
I
information, right?
volunteered, yes.
Okay, so why in 1983 couldn't you volunteer the information?
But sir, I never was a part of it.
Object, that's argument, and plus it's been asked and answered, Judge.
I think it's been asked and answered. Next question.
So, again, you were locked up. That's the first time you talked to anybody about this. Bottom line, right?
Yes.
Okay. And nobody promised you any help or any assistance with your incarceration, is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
I've been out there 2 years and I've got less than 30 days left on my sentence. I wish they could have helped me, but no, I did my time.
Right. And you wouldn't mind a little help if they were to offer you?
Well, that wasn't my purpose in none of this.
Right. You wouldn't turn it down, I guess is what I'm asking. Right?
Well, I mean, no.
And this trailer park was on Wood Road, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right off Wood Road?
Yes.
Was this Carrie's trailer park?
I'm not really sure of the name of it.
Okay. Basically, you say 9 or 10 trailers?
Yes.
Okay. And you said there was the 2016 instance that you were around Frankie,
Yes,
and you were drinking,
yes.
just the two of you?
No, there was other people there.
Okay. Other people as in who?
Well, it was the girl I was with, she was there. There was another female and a male, two males there. I know the names, but I don't think it's of significance right now.
You do know the names?
Yes.
Would you tell me the names?
Well, I remember Johnny Leatherwood, Kim Leatherwood, and the girl I was with.
Okay. In this particular instance, in what you testified to, you related this to Agent Coleman when he interviewed you in May of 2017?
That there was other people there.
Any of that? Any of the
Yes,
details you just
yes.
gave about drinking and some sort of admission?
Yes.
And you were at approximately 5 parties there. Over what period of time?
Over there being,
At that trailer park where you testified that all these things happened?
over a couple year period of time.
Over a couple of year period of time?
Yes.
Starting in what year?
I'd say around, first come to Griffin was in 80. They hired me in 81. It was in 82, 83.
82 or 83?
82 and 83,
Oh,
right
okay.
around there, yes.
Is when you were at these parties at this particular place, approximately about 5 parties?
Yes.
Okay. And you were just drinking and fair to say drunk?
And might have got drunk a couple times.
A lot of people go to parties, as you know.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Why some people go to parties? You have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I think that's all the questions I have at this time. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
You may come down. Thank you, sir. Would you call your next witness, please?
Christopher Vaughn.
You'll come forward, please. You'll please face me and raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the trial of this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You'll have a seat. And if you would please speak into the middle microphone and state your name for the record.
Christopher Vaughn.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vaughn. Let's start with the fact that you're serving a sentence in the state penitentiary. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's that sentence for?
Child molestation.
All right. And have we as the state offered you any deal at all to testify here today?
No, ma'am.
Have you been offered any consideration?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let's take you back to 1983.
Yes, ma'am.
Specifically, October 7th of 1983.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
Friday night.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you recall anything unusual happening where you lived on that Friday night?
There was a party across the street from the house in the same park. There was loud radio and noise and an argument involving.
If you could speak up a little bit, these last jurors on that corner have to hear everything that's said.
Okay, I'm sorry. They had a party across the street from the house I lived in the park, and I got woke up.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the park. What park are you talking about?
It's Carey's at one time. Now it's Ponderosa, I believe is the name of it now.
Okay, so Carey's Mobile Home Park. Where is it located?
Patterson Road, corner of Patterson and Menor was where I was living in the A-frame house.
Okay, so you lived in an A-frame house. And could you see most of the park from that?
A good portion of it.
Okay. Where were you? Where was your room in that A-frame house?
At the top on facing the trailer park.
Okay. And did it have anything on it?
We had a balcony with sliding doors. Me and both rooms upstairs had them.
Okay. And tell the jury, how old were you back in 1983?
10.
So you were 10 years old. And the party, you stated earlier, woke you up. What did you do?
I got up and went and looked out the balcony, stood on the balcony,
What time was this?
probably around 12, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Could it have been later?
It could have been later. I mean, I'm just,
It's fair to say it's dark,
oh yeah, it was,
middle of the night.
yeah, it was definitely.
You had been asleep for some time?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see? When you walked out to your balcony and you looked over, what did you see?
I saw the defendant with,
Okay, and real quick, you nodded your head in a direction.
yes, ma'am,
Who did you nod your head in that direction at?
Frank Gebhardt,
Okay. And could you identify him by something he's wearing for me, sir?
the gray shirt,
All right. And I'm so sorry to interrupt. You said you saw Frankie Gebhardt.
and a Ruth, a girl that he was dating.
Would that be Ruth Guy?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see anyone else with him?
Bill Moore,
Okay.
and a black gentleman.
Okay, was the black gentleman young? Was he
He
old?
was probably 20s.
Okay. What were they doing?
Arguing, Frankie was arguing with him,
Okay. Was arguing with who?
the black gentleman.
Okay. Could you hear what they were arguing about?
No, ma'am, I could not.
Did you know Ruth Guy? Did you see her after all of this
No,
happened?
ma'am.
Okay, so after that argument, did you ever see her again?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you saw the defendant and the black male arguing, what happened after that?
They got in a car, Frankie got in a car with the black male in the back, and Bill and the girl got in the front, and they drove off.
Okay. Which direction did they drive?
When they left out the park, they turned right, and went down towards the dirt part of Minnow Road.
Okay. Do you recall what happened a couple of days later?
Yes, ma'am. Me, my dad, 2 uncles, 2 cousins was out behind the park in the woods and hunting, shooting, and we stumbled across a body.
Okay. Now let's talk about the area.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said that you were shooting,
Yes, ma'am.
hunting. What were you hunting for?
Squirrels.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to show you what has been marked as, State Exhibit 9.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you if you recognize the area.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
Right here's the trailer park.
Well, just tell me what it is in general.
It's an aerial map of the area where we lived at one time.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, we will tender State's Exhibit 9 for demonstrative purposes only.
No objection, no.
Okay, it's admitted.
Okay. All right. Judge, may I just have him step down just to right here?
Yes, sir, but be sure you're away from the microphone. Be sure and speak up for the court reporter and jurors.
Can I move about as well, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Step on that in. All right, you were pointing at something earlier. You were pointing in this direction.
Yes, that's the trailer park.
Okay. And what trailer park is that?
At that time, it's Cary's. Now it is considered Ponderosa.
Okay. Can you face the jury so they can hear you? All right, where was your house? Do you remember?
Right-hand corner.
All right, and do you remember where Frankie Gebhardt lived?
He had a house over in this area.
Okay, so it was fair to say close to the trailer park?
Yes.
Okay. And where was the place where you found the body that you were just talking about? Okay. Y'all were over in here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And where is Minnow Road?
This is Minnow Road. It goes all the way up and comes up. It goes to the highway.
Now, this map is from 2018. Back in 1983, was there anything else in these areas?
No, all this area was fields, and matter of fact, that was a cornfield at one time and soybeans. That was just a designated area. It was just a field. It wasn't nothing. Used to be a tree about right here. And and this is the power lines.
Okay. And did the tree have a name?
The hanging tree.
Is that what people just called it? Okay. About how far from the Carey's mobile home park to this field where you found the body?
Probably half a mile, maybe.
Okay. And where did you see the car where the defendant and Bill Moore and the, okay,
Right here in this corner.
right here?
Yes, ma'am.
And-
As a matter of fact, there used to be a trailer right there.
Okay, and can you just show the jury the direction that you saw them travel?
They come out, I think that's it.
Okay, you can have a seat. Thank you. What kind of area was that field where you found the body?
Secluded.
Okay, did you know of other people that hunted there?
A few, I believe my dad and them had permission to hunt out there is what we was always told, so
Okay, did you know if people partied out there?
some.
Okay. How did you come upon the body?
We was out shooting squirrels and my dad has a real bad hatred for woodpeckers because they used to get on the side of our house and really loud, and there was a woodpecker out there and my dad was gonna shoot it. And my cousin Keith said, "Don't shoot, there's a man laying over there asleep." And everybody was looking, nobody could find him. My dad's like, "Where?" Nobody sees anything. So my dad went to shoot the woodpecker again, and he pushed the gun down and said, "I'm telling you, there's a man over there
I don't
asleep."
object to much you're saying.
I don't think it goes for the truth of the matter asserted, Your Honor. He's
Yeah.
just kind of orienting us all to how they found it.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge.
And then it happened 3 times. Finally, my dad said, "They better be somebody laying over there asleep." So we all walked over to where he supposedly seen the person sleeping, and the body was laying there. My dad said, "You can throw a hand grenade over there. He's not going to wake up." So
So it was obvious that this person
Yes.
was dead.
it's obvious.
Okay. What condition was the body in?
Bad shape.
Okay, could you tell if it was a man or a woman?
At that time, I was a kid. I don't know.
Could you tell if it was a black person or a white person?
You could tell it was a black person.
Okay. Now, did you have an occasion to tell anyone about what you had found?
Yes, my dad never reported it that day.
Okay. Now, were you at a party with the defendant a short time later?
Yeah, probably some months later, but yes.
Okay. Who else was there?
Willard, Barry, my dad, I can't remember everybody, but I know the normal folks.
Okay. What, if anything, did he say?
He said that they had killed the man that we had found over there on the power line.
Did he say how?
At that time, no, ma'am.
Okay. Did he have another, let me ask you this, when he's telling you this, you're a kid, and he says, that guy y'all found on the power line, we killed him. Did he say who?
Him and Bill Moore?
Did he say why?
At that time, no, ma'am.
Not at that time.
No, ma'am.
What was his demeanor when he's telling you this?
It never changed.
What do you mean?
He was in a good mood, he was drinking, it never changed. He didn't get an attitude about it, he never got angry about it, it was like it didn't really matter.
Very matter of fact, fair to say?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Did he seem to be ashamed?
No, ma'am.
Or was there, and just to orient, there have been multiple, it's fair to say, occasions that you have heard the defendant say something about the murder that
I
happened.
object to least.
I was just trying to move it along, but are there other occasions, I'll rephrase, are there other occasions when
Yes,
you've
ma'am.
heard the, okay, how many?
At least 3 or 4 others.
Okay. What would he say on those occasions?
He stabbed him. At one time, he told me they stabbed him 18 to 30 times, drug him up and down the power lines. As a matter of fact, they stabbed him some and then drug him up and down the power lines and then stabbed him again.
That's what he told you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he ever say if he stabbed the victim, or if Bill stabbed, or if they, did he say anything?
At one time, he actually got into details, said he stabbed him and then Bill stabbed him some, but most of it's always been he was saying he stabbed him, so.
Did he ever tell you why?
At one time, it was, supposedly over his ex-girlfriend, Ruth.
Okay, and what about Ruth?
Ruth was supposedly sleeping with the gentleman,
And by gentleman, you mean,
the dead guy.
okay. What was his demeanor when he was telling you about this over the years?
Just a matter of fact, it was, no remorse.
No remorse?
No,
What about shame?
no.
Okay. Did he ever appear to be bragging?
Sometimes you would take it as that.
Okay. Did he ever say it when he
Was angry.
was angry?
Yes, ma'am.
What would he say when he was angry?
He got into an argument with a guy that was working on a house and told him that he would kill him like he did the black guy.
Okay. And is that what he said?
Now, his exact words was, "I'll kill you like I did that nigger."
Okay. And I want you to use his exact words for the jury. I understand. Might be uncomfortable when you use exact words. And when he would refer to the gentleman that was killed on Minner Road on the other occasions, how would he refer to him?
The nigger.
Okay. Did that surprise you that he used that word?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Bill and him's been, they do not like black folks.
Okay. Have you heard them express opinions about black men sleeping with white women?
That's not something they tolerate or agree with at all.
Okay. And you're pretty adamant when you say it. Why?
I mean, that's the way it's always been. I grew up around them, and I've never, that's, their attitudes towards that's never changed.
Okay. Now, you actually wore a wire in this case
Yes, ma'am, I did.
for Agent Coleman,
Yes, ma'am, I did.
and that would come in with Agent Coleman, but you volunteered that,
Yes, ma'am, I did.
okay? And you had a conversation with the defendant?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. Let me just ask you, Mr. Vaughn, the question that is the elephant in the room is, why did you wait when you had all of this information?
I spoke to an investigator at the sheriff's department in, I want to say 2004, maybe 5. And then I wrote a letter to GBI in 2007, I think it was, 6 or 7.
Okay. But why did you wait until then? Why not come forward with what you had?
I've been around them my whole life, and they're very violent when they choose to be, and I just didn't feel comfortable.
Okay. And you did come forward when you were incarcerated. Is it fair to tell the jury that you were maybe hoping for some type of deal?
I mean, I guess in a way, yeah, but I didn't ask for anything.
Okay. And why are you here now?
To see justice come to.
Okay. Let me ask you one more thing about what he would have told you. Did he ever mention a well?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
What did he mention about the well?
The well supposedly had the clothes and the murder weapon in it.
Okay. Is that what he told you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And all of this, the trailer park, Minner Road, the area where you would hunt, is that all in Spalding County?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. I don't have anything else for you, Mr. Vaughn. The defense will have questions.
Okay, you may cross.
Thank you. Well, I'm Marty Lee, I represent Mr. Gebhardt.
Okay.
You got a few questions for me. What is your sentence that you're currently under for the child molestation conviction?
50 years.
50 years? And you recall asking, when you were interviewed, you recall asking them about consecutive as opposed to concurrent sentences?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, so that's the specific help that you have talked about with the investigator, is that correct?
That's what I asked for, but there was never nothing promised.
I understand. They told you you had to produce something first, is that correct?
As a matter of fact, the DA's never told me that.
I understand the DA's, you were told by the investigator.
The investigator said he would see what he could do. It was never promised by him.
Okay, and they said he told you that you had to produce something in order to get any assistance, is that correct?
No, he said he would see what he could do if anything would come of it.
And by becoming of it means that you have to do a good job, right?
I mean, I guess.
Right. So this is in your best interest to be here today and telling these things, is that correct?
I mean, I don't see how, but there's never been nothing promised, and I've got a TPM in next year, so it ain't gonna matter either way. I mean, I can parole out on my own.
Your TPM hasn't been changed to 2021?
Not that my knowledge, I've been in the county, so I haven't seen it lately.
Okay. Your maximum release date, though, is in 2054, right? Okay. So you can see how it would be in your best interest if you do good in testifying, then you may get out of jail sooner, right?
Supposedly.
And you hope so, right? Is that correct?
I mean, I guess.
I mean, you don't like being locked up,
I
right?
know, nobody likes getting locked up.
So you want out of jail?
I guess. Not for testifying, no, I don't have a problem with testifying.
Right. You want out of jail for general principles, right? But the key to it is coming here, right?
Johnny, I'm going to object. We've made no promises, no deals with him in exchange for his testimony, any of that. That has never been made.
Ask one more question. It's becoming repetitive.
And I'm sorry, young, but it's in your best interest. If you do good in testifying, then that can get you out earlier, right?
I don't see how, there's been no deal made.
Just a promise to talk about it. Is that all?
Not really. That was the investigator that said that.
Okay, not because you asked about maybe having your sentences changed from consecutive to concurrent.
Ask him, Mr. Judge.
Hasn't he already explained that?
He's changed that, Judge, and I'm
Well,
really...
just ask it one more time.
You asked about changing your sentence from consecutive sentences to concurrent sentences, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's you asking for something, right?
Correct.
And him saying, I will talk about it with the DA's office, is him saying something, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall, well, the first time you mentioned this was in 2004, right?
Yes, sir.
And what year did you get locked up for child molestation?
I think actually I mentioned it in like 2005. I was locked up in 2004.
Okay, so you were locked up for the first time on this child molestation in 2004.
Correct.
And so the first time then you said something about it was 2005.
Yes.
Okay. And you have given several statements over the years since then, right?
Yes, every time I put a new investigator, somebody comes out and talks to her.
Fair enough. So you remember back in, you mentioned it, and you kept approaching them, is that correct?
I approached one time, I wrote them a letter, and then from then on, like I said, anytime they changed investigators, the new investigator would come out and talk to them.
Okay, so you wrote them a letter and you wanted to talk to somebody because you had all this valuable information,
Yes.
right? And so in 2007, an agent with the GBI came out to talk to you, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay. And you recall, that was, I believe, down at Lee State Prison, would that have been right? Okay, so GBI agent comes down and talks to you. And where did you say Frankie lived?
Like 2 or 3 houses down from the park on the right-hand side of Patterson Road.
Okay. And where did Bill Moore live?
Bill, at that time, at the time that I was incarcerated, or?
No, I'm sorry. At the time all these events transpired in 1980.
I believe Bill lived in the park. I'm not 100% sure that like I said, I was a juvenile, so I'm not privy to their exact addresses.
Right.
I know Frankie lived down the street from the park, though.
Okay. And you were 10 years old, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so you told the GBI investigator in 2007 that y'all were out squirrel hunting and you found a body, right? And you told him that maggots and turtles were consuming the corpse, is that correct?
I mean, they was around them, so I
Okay.
can't say maggots, but I can say turtles.
You didn't say turtles?
I said I can't say maggots, I said I can say the turtles.
Okay. And, did you tell the investigator that you did not know Timothy Cox?
No, I did not know his name, no, sir.
Okay. You had seen him before?
No, I've seen the black dude in the body, I never knew who the name was.
So you had never seen Timothy Coggins prior to finding the body the day that y'all came upon?
I can't say that's who it was. Like I said, I didn't ever know the name of the black gentleman that I seen in the park and the body. I never, so.
Did you know if it was the same person?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay.
And you do recall telling the agent in 2007 that Frankie Gebhardt told you that his wife Brenda was having an affair?
No, that's just, it was Bill Moore's old lady at that time.
Okay. But you didn't tell the investigator that in 2007? And do you recall in 2007, you told the investigator, the GBI agent, that Frankie told you he lured the victim to the intersection of Broadway and 2nd Street, and the three of them then went to the utility lines?
No, I believe no.
So you didn't tell him that the victim was lured to the intersection of Broadway and 2nd Street, and the three of them went to the utility lines?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you recall that that's all the information that you gave him in 2007?
I'm not 100% sure exactly what I gave him, but
Okay. Well, you had another chance. Then they came and interviewed you again in 2008, right?
I believe so.
And so between 2007 and 2008, nothing happened on it that you knew of, did you?
Nothing to my knowledge.
Right. And did you make a request to talk to them again in 2008?
No, they came to see me. I've never requested to see them again.
Okay. And so you didn't send them any letters after that?
No, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And who was it with you when the body was found?
My cousin Keith Garner, my uncle Barry Sanders, and Willard, and my dad Charles Carey.
And do you recall that in 2008, you told Investigator Beatty, was that who it was that came to see you?
I don't remember his name.
Fair enough. That it was Charles Carey, Tim Garner, and Keith Garner with you?
Should have been, and Barry Sanders and Willard.
I understand that, but do you recall those are the names that you gave him in 2008?
Don't remember Tim, but okay.
You don't remember Tim?
I don't remember using his name because
Okay. And do you recall telling Investigator Beatty that Frankie was a tenant at the trailer park, Carey's trailer park?
no, he's never been a tenant at the park.
Okay. And you recall telling him Bill Moore was a tenant at the trailer park?
Bill Moore was a tenant at the park at one time.
At that trailer park in 1983?
I can't say that for sure.
Okay. Because you don't know, right? Okay. And then you told Investigator Beatty, did you not, in 2008, that Frankie said something about the victim was having a sexual relationship with Ruth
Yes,
Gebhardt?
that was what we knew her as.
Okay. And do you recall telling Investigator Beatty that they picked him up at Broadway and 2nd Street?
No, sir, you've asked that once, and I told you I do
6
not.
feet again.
I do not remember that, sir.
I understand. You don't recall telling them that in 2007, and then you don't recall telling Investigator Beatty that again in 2008?
No.
Okay. And do you recall in telling Investigator Beatty that then the three went to Frankie Gebhardt's house at Carey's Mobile Home Park, and then the three of them went to the utility lines?
No.
Okay. So you-
Frankie has never lived in the park.
Okay. And so you would have never said anything like that?
No.
And if somebody said you did, that'd be...
It could be a mistake.
Oh. And do you recall making clear to Investigator Beatty that you were ready and willing to assist any way possible?
Yes.
Then after that, you had another interview, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I believe I had a couple.
Somewhere around October 27th of 2015, is that correct?
Okay.
That sounds right.
Uh,
You remember Agent Devane from the GBI?
no. I mean, I've met several of them. I'm not real sure.
Right. You know you had an interview, but you
Yeah, I
can't
do.
specifically remember who it was. And that would have been in Coffee Correctional Facility. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall telling Agent Devane that about 2 days after this murder, that you and your stepfather, Charles Carey Jr., and Charles Carey's cousin Barry Sanders, and some other people you couldn't remember their names, were out on the power lines?
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
So you couldn't remember their names in 2015 after you had in 2008?
I mean, I couldn't, just off the top of my head, couldn't place them, no, sir.
All right. And do you recall telling Agent Devane that you didn't know Frankie's girlfriend or wife's name?
I believe I've always referred to her as Ruth.
Okay. You don't remember referring her to as Gebhardt's old lady?
Well, no, sir.
And do you recall in your interview in 2015 with Agent Devane that you did not mention anything about Timothy Coggins being there?
So I don't recall.
Okay. And let me go back. Did you say you had seen, you didn't know it was Timothy Coggins, but you had seen a black male with them before?
At the party, that's the only time I've ever seen
Okay,
her.
and that's the only time you've seen them with a black male?
Yes.
Okay, would they normally have parties in which white and black people were together?
No, sir.
Okay. So you never had that experience of seeing any black people at a party where they were at?
No, sir.
Did you ever go to any parties over on Wood Road, or some trailers off of Wood Road?
No, sir.
Are you familiar with the trailer park off of Wood Road?
No, sir.
Okay, where there's a group maybe of 9 or 10 trailers that are there, does that ring any bells?
No, sir.
We call a guy named Robert Smith.
I know Robert Smith, yes.
Did you know him from those parties?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you talked to him?
Robert?
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Okay. When do you occasionally talk to him?
I've seen him in passing a few times, and he was a trustee at one time out in the county, and I see him not periodically, not everyday occurrences, but
I understand, and that's fine, but you've seen him from time to time over the years?
yes.
Okay. And have you talked to him about the things that y'all both have in common, I guess? Knowing things about this case?
Not really. Me and Robert's never been like friends. I know him and seen him around, and I speak to him when I see him.
Okay. And you don't recall telling Agent Devane then again in 2015 about Frankie and Bill luring or meeting or picking up Mr. Coggins at the intersection of Broadway and 2nd Street?
No, sir. I've never told him that that's where they lured him from.
You've never mentioned that since 2004 or 5, whenever you first started talking about it?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Not to your knowledge? You don't remember it at all, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and so you were at a party in 1983, or you were awakened and looking out at a party?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you say that was at what time?
Probably 12/1. It could have been later. I'm not real sure at the time.
Okay. Well, do you recall doing some interviews with Agent Coleman, pleaded over here?
Yes.
Okay, and you've talked to him more than once, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And is it fair to say that you told him 10 o'clock?
No, I don't believe I said 10 o'clock. I don't know. I can't, not to my knowledge do I remember 10 o'clock. I'm usually in bed. When I was a kid, I was in bed way before then, so.
Right. You were, but weren't you at a party a couple of days later?
No, it was a weekend. No, it wasn't a couple of days later. It was months later.
Months later?
Yes.
Several months later. You weren't much older than 10, too, right?
It was a family get-together. I mean,
It was a family get-together?
yeah, I mean, all my family was there. Of course I'm going to be there.
Okay, and so it was just family there? Or?
No, I didn't say that. It was just mostly family. I mean,
Okay, mostly family. It was a family get-together. You were there,
yes.
and everybody was drinking. Is that fair to say, or most people?
Yes.
Okay. Were you drinking?
No, sir.
Okay. So you don't recall telling Agent Coleman, May 3rd, 2017, that you saw the vehicle pull out of Carey's mobile home park, travel down Menor Road where Coggins' body was later discovered, and you noted that the observation was at approximately 10 o'clock at night.
No, I don't remember the time being 10 o'clock at night. No, sir, I do not. But I remember the rest of the discussion.
So you didn't say that?
Not 10 o'clock, no, sir. I don't believe I
Okay.
did.
So if you heard an audio that showed something else, a recording of your interview, would that refresh your memory?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely don't remember it.
But you definitely could have said it?
I don't believe I did.
Okay. I mean, were you ever told that that didn't fit into the timeline or
No,
something?
sir, I was never
You
told
needed
that.
to change that up a little
Nope.
bit? Okay. And in both of those interviews from '07 and '08, you recall you never mentioned Frankie Gebhardt, Ruth Guy, or Bill Moore being at the trailer park the night of the murder. You never mentioned it.
I can't say what day he was killed, sir. All I can say is that the night I seen them, they was there. I can't say what night the man was killed. I can't say that was the night. I can't say none of that, no.
But you can say you never mentioned that to them being there a few nights before the murder, like you told Agent Coleman, right?
Oh, I've always said that was before, that I seen the black man with the Bill Moore and Frankie before, a couple of days before we.
So you
found
told
the
that
body.
specifically in your 2007 interview and told Agent Beatty that in your 2008 interview?
Yes.
A few days before this murder, they were there at the trailer park, it woke you up, you come out on the balcony, you looked down, you saw them arguing, and then you saw them leave.
Yes.
You gave them that specific information?
Yes.
Okay. Frankie had gray hair back then?
No.
And by the way, you recall telling Agent Coleman that when they left the trailer park, they were in a car, right?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of, a four-door car, you
It's a
said?
white four-door.
A white four-door car. And you recall not telling what color the car was to Agent Coleman?
I believe I stated the color of the car, maybe not to him, but I stated it before.
Okay. Do you recall having stated before it was a truck?
No, I believe that was stated that was supposedly what was used to drag what Frankie's used to drag the body with.
Okay, but you saw him leave in a car?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall telling Agent Devane in 2015 that the eyes on the body were bloated?
Yes, I did believe so.
And then you recall telling someone else that you weren't allowed to get close to the body?
I mean, I couldn't get no closer than probably here to the defense table, I mean.
But you were close enough to see and observe everything, right?
Pretty much.
Turtles and eyes bloated and things like that, right? Okay. And do you recall telling Agent Devane that Frankie told you that they cut the victim's penis off and put it in his mouth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Frankie told you that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you observe that to be the case when you observed the body?
I mean, I didn't know exactly what it was back then, hanging out in his mouth, no, sir, I couldn't. I mean, I was a child, so I wouldn't.
Okay. So you didn't observe anything like that when you observed the body, is that
I mean,
correct?
not in my recollection, no, sir.
And you said you had not seen Ruth Guy after that?
No, sir.
Okay. And you don't know where she went, whether she got married and moved away to North Carolina or Colorado or?
No, sir.
And you also recall telling Agent Devane that a few days after the body was discovered, your stepfather, Charles Carey Jr., looked up or got the address of Mr. Coggins where he lived, and you and he went and drove by to see where Mr. Coggins lived.
I don't remember it at that time. No, sir, I do not remember telling him that.
You don't remember telling him that, or it didn't happen?
I don't remember saying that.
Did it happen?
Sometime later, yes, sir, we did drive by.
So sometime later, your stepfather looked up and got the address for Mr. Coggins and took you to go drive by and see where he lived.
Yes.
Did he tell you why?
No, sir.
Okay, you just recall him doing it. Did you ever go to the People's Choice Club?
No, sir.
No, I think that's all the questions I have at this time.
Any redirect?
Very briefly. There was some mention on cross about a four-door car versus a truck.
Yes.
What did you see the night that was a few days before you found the body? What did you see regarding a car?
A white car, they got in a white car.
And who is they?
Frankie Gebhardt, Bill Moore, and Ruth, and the black gentleman.
What has Frankie told you over the years, or the defendant told you over the years about a truck?
They used the truck to drag the body or the victim up and down the power lines.
Did he tell you how the body was positioned?
No, they do not.
Did he tell you what he used to tie?
There's been a chain at one time, that's what we were told.
Okay, what did he tell you about a chain?
That they used it to wrap around, I believe, the ankles and drag him up and down the power lines.
Okay. Your stepfather, was he friends with Bill Moore and Franklin Gebhardt?
Yes, they grew up, I know Frankie and him grew up together. I'm not real sure about Bill. They were associates at one time. He lived in the park numerous times.
And you mentioned that the defendant lived just next to the park, and you pointed that out to the jury. How often was he at the park?
All the time,
Okay. All the time, multiple times a week?
just about every day.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Any recross?
Just briefly, but you saw them leave in a car, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you didn't see anybody forcing anybody into anything. You just observed them leaving in a car.
I saw them get in an argument and then Frankie get in his face and then they got in the car and left. I didn't see forcibly put them in a car, no, sir.
Okay. Everybody walked to the car and got in?
They were standing beside the car when they got in an argument.
Okay. And is it fair to say nothing traumatic had happened to you a few days before you found the body, right?
No.
So you went back to recall these things afterwards, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At 10 years old?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You may come down. Thank you, sir. You'll call your next witness, please. Yes, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 5 to 10 minute recess at this time. Please do not discuss the case. If everyone will remain seated until the jury has cleared or the spectators anyway, so they've cleared the courtroom.